Nothing is more important than leads when it comes to a business website. Nothing is more important. And I'll tell you why and how to cultivate those leads. First off, I'm Justin Hitt with Ad Briefing's Copywriting Tips. And this podcast is for copywriters, marketers, business owners, and executives who want to grow their business with clear communications and words that sell. And the key thing that we know can determine what words sell and which words don't is the leads we generate at a website. Now, again, we can generate leads by other means, by people calling in, by researching leads, by ultimately purchasing leads or access to leads through ad networks. But the leads that come to your website, people who opt in at your website or request information specifically from your business, are some of the most valuable indicators of the success of your business. And I'll share why. Number one is that those individuals who have raised their hand have demonstrated interest, not just interest in general for the products and services that you offer, but specifically for what you offer as an organization. And so how you respond to those leads matters. Another factor is that the opt in offer helps determine the category of interest of those leads. So when someone comes to the Ad Briefings Copywriting Tips website and they say, I want to get your newsletter, that is an indicator that they are interested in and would benefit from information that that newsletter offers. So a landing page that says we're here to help freelance copywriters increase their book of business is different than we're here for marketers and freelance copywriters who want to build an advertising agency. So those are two different audiences, and the function of lead generation is to put those individuals on a list specific to the interest of those individuals. So a general opt-in for the newsletter is useful because we want to give folks a sampling of what's available so that they can make additional decisions and further segment their interest, but also landing pages that are specific to interest. Because if I'm comparing freelance copywriters who want a larger book of business to freelance copywriters who want to start an agency, and one is going to dramatically outpull the other, that can also inform our content. So these tips I'm going to share with you are built on best practices, and they are specifically about how to leverage our lists. And it's important the lists are measurable, the lists are repeatable, and the lists are clearly defined so that we can increase the number of sales. Let's start with the list. Where are some of the lists that you naturally have in a business? Well, you have your past customers. Is that lead generation? Well, not necessarily, but because someone has purchased from you in the past, they are part of a special house list that represents past buyers. The segmentation in that list is what they bought. Another list that we have is a prospect newsletter. I just mentioned Ad Briefings Copywriting Tips has a free prospect newsletter, and that's for people who have a general interest in copywriting and building an agency and building a book of business. And by the way, a freelance copywriter growing a larger book of business and a freelance copywriter building an agency, they both solve the same problem, which is cash flow and growth for you as a copywriter. That creates the prospect newsletter. Then you're going to have lists which are specific to different subtopics of the main newsletter. And those lists could exist in YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. They could consist of followers, but those lists are not as valuable because it's not as easy to reach out to those individuals. The biggest benefit from lead generation is that we're narrowing down a everybody audience or a large audience into folks that we can repeatedly reach at a favorable cost, and that is perhaps the greatest value. So let's say you're doing paid advertising on YouTube and Facebook, driving to an opt-in, which is your prospect newsletter. The prospect newsletter, of course, offers not a newsletter. Nobody wants a newsletter, but offers insights and tips to help solve a specific problem. And so you're testing Facebook versus LinkedIn, and you're paying money on both of these platforms to generate leads on a list. That tells you something. It can tell you which platform has the highest composition of individuals interested in your topic. It can tell you if you have a conversion activity afterwards, which of those audiences are most likely to purchase. It can tell you, you can have a survey built in there. And so it can tell you what challenges these individuals are looking for. And so we're going to concentrate that building of the interaction to post lead generation, because now we can start understanding the people better and then creating what we call segments inside of a list. We can look at buying behavior of the individuals based on source. So, are the people from Facebook more likely to engage in a discovery call and then therefore become a paying customer? Or is it the people at LinkedIn? We can also combine both lists together, append the data on our in-house list, and now start looking at, are these individuals with a certain job title? Are they male or female? Or they interested in certain activities? Do they have certain background or experiences? Again, our lead generation is about narrowing the scope of our focus to better understand those who are most likely to buy. So if you're looking at how do we determine what language to use, what headlines work and what don't, can we improve the efficiency of our A/B split testing, you have to look at the individual humans that make buying decisions, and then again build them on a house list. I store most of my house list in a what's called a customer relationship management system, a CRM system. This system allows me to tag people, to cookie them, to find out what web pages they're going to make small offers, to make follow-up opportunity, engagements, to share information. This is beyond my email marketing platform that primarily tracks the emails. My CRM has everything from what company they work for, who are their coworkers, what's their name, address, and phone number, what is their buying history, uh, just a lot of information. I can build subgroups. I can send short messages. Now, the way email is working today is that you want to have engagements or interactions that are mutually exclusive, meaning you sent them a message and they sent you a message back. That signals to their email provider that it's an engagement. If you send a message to 50 different people, that's not mutually exclusive. If those 50 people don't reply back to you, or you don't have a high percentage of those people replying back. So if you send individual email messages, especially in the high ticket business to business world, we're now getting past their email filters. We're now getting past their corporate filtering systems. And now you have a better chance of connecting with them. But the best thing to do is to basically draw on that list of subscribers or that list of opt-ins, engage one-on-one when possible. That's why we always have the ability for you to ask questions in the email. You can reply to an email post and I will answer questions to you for you, and we'll have that engagement. But you also want to have the surveys. You want to have the free reports to download. You want to have as many triggers as possible that give you an indication of their engagement in your content, but also their subject matter interests, so that you can then follow up with offers. Now, why is this important? Well, how they interact will inform you to what words are relevant to their needs and interests. So we want to build our lists as quickly as possible, and then from our core prospect list, run tests to narrow down the interests. Once you've identified the interests, you can go back out to your broader audience and amplify the number of leads that you get. And then if you've built autoresponders and you've built funnels and other things, you can bring folks back into that system to further test and refine your focus. The reason we're focusing on lead generation is to build in-house lists. Those in-house lists are much more cost-effective to interact with. It's a lot cheaper to send an email, to send a postcard, to retarget someone that you know has an interest in what you have to offer than it is to do that on a general mailing list. So if you want to promote something on Facebook and you're just doing an audience match, that's not as cost effective as replying back to someone who said, please send me more information. And then more importantly, replying back with an offer to see of that group who buys products and services. And so we're building the in-house list. We're focusing on the in-house list. We're not just looking for subscribers and followers and likes. We're looking for people with their name, address, and phone number on your customer relationship management system, so that you can now go in there and start talking specifically about solutions they need. Now, let's bring this back to a copywriter, marketer, business owner, or executive. When you've got them in your in-house list, Now you can start a sales function of finding out what are their needs, what is their budget, what is their desired outcome, what is the concerns and frustrations those individuals have. Now you can still reflect on that in your content marketing. You can still reflect on that in your social media, but now you're talking with somebody who has a probability, a high probability of actually becoming a customer. And so when you get to understand their needs, you can start going through a sales cycle. And then even if the sale doesn't go through, you still have learned something about that audience that you can use to improve the front of the funnel, improve the demand generation, improve the number of people that are on your email list. It is entirely possible that once you get past 1,000 email subscribers, to start monetizing that list in other ways, or to start using testing methodologies that give you an idea of who is likely to become a buyer. So let's say you've got 100 buyers and you've got 1,000 people on your email list. We have something there. It doesn't matter if you have 1 million followers on a social media network. If you've got 1,000 emails and you've got 100 buyers over any period of time, I can show you how to identify who's likely to purchase, where they came purchased from. We can start doing lead and sales attribution. We can start feeding them back into blog posts and other in-house media. You can actually build something there. And then we can do what's called cache surges. We can set up a cache surge. So as a copywriter, you want to find people who are interested in increasing sales, boosting profits, unlocking new markets. And then if we talk about those things, and you don't necessarily have to become a newsletter publisher, but you want to talk about the success stories of your clients in the context of those areas, you can then place an offer in periodically. Maybe 20% of the time you're going to have a hard offer. The rest of the time you're going to have soft offers where people are going to come into a discovery call to talk about their specific campaign or project. Now, who should we put on our lead list? We want to put decision makers for the products and services that you offer. I, as a publisher, do strategic consulting, and I attract copywriters, marketers, and business owners onto the ad briefings list because I'm offering tools to go from, a commodity in order to become a specialized organization who does higher ticket services. So I'm not writing to peers. I'm not writing to people who just want the next freelance job. I'm writing for people who want to build a business and use the skills of communications and using words that sell and using testing methodologies in order to create a well-oiled machine, which we describe as an agency. They want to create the agency of passive income, the agency of a consistent flow of new customers, an agency of a book of business that they can keep returning to. And so that mailing list is different than if you really just want to write sales letters, or you just want to serve agencies, or you want to serve a specific industry. If you're targeting a specific industry, you're going to look at the decision makers in that industry. And if you're a copywriter, that decision maker could be a procurement manager. It could be a ad, uh, somebody who runs an ad budget but doesn't create the ads and put them online. It could be a senior level writer that hires junior copywriters. It could be a marketing executive who comes up with campaigns and ideas but doesn't implement them. So do you see what we're doing here? We're building lists of high prospect clients. And that's why you can use the Dream 100 system from Chet Holmes to list 100 decision makers that you want to work with, and you can start right there. Because a lot of folks say to get 1,000 opt-ins is pretty tough. And I say, well, no, it's not, because we've got LinkedIn, we've got platforms that we can do research on, and we can identify 100 ideal buyers and then start our test cases there. And then from what we learn with those 100 ideal buyers or 100 past customers, what we learn from there is what kind of lead generation offers that we need to present. We're presenting these out in the real world, and we're putting them in front of prospects by every means necessary. So we're using pay-per-click. We're using guest posts on targeted publications. We're using social media. We're driving everything we've got back to one or two, or like an A/B split opt-in page. We're offering a gift that is only of value to the people who we want to attract. And then ultimately, we're cultivating that list so that we can build it organically with those most likely to purchase. What this means is that your competitors cannot see your offers unless they join your list. And now you can curate a little bit and you can get rid of the competitors on the list. I actually have a couple domains that if they try to opt into my list, they wouldn't get any emails. They get opted in, but they never get any emails because I put them on a do not email list immediately. Now, again, that's necessary from a privacy perspective. We can talk about that from another thing. You do need to maintain um, the opt out lists, the do not email, the do not market that's required of some of the different privacy things. If that's interesting to you, we can definitely talk about that. But again, we're cultivating lists. So I've got like 4,700 people in my CRM system that I constantly interact with. Some people say, well, why don't you ever make any offers on the podcast? That's not what the podcast is about. The podcast is about you raising your hand and asking a question. Those questions go into a system for developing content. The system for developed content focuses on content that generates leads at the website itself. The in-house list, which is the lead generation that we're doing, focuses on specific offers tailored for those individuals. That's what I'm advocating for you. It is a massive shortcut over the spray and pray that a lot of people do. It focuses you on a handful of buyers rather than a large fantasy of getting overwhelmed by people who just throw money at you. You're in fact building up an audience. And what tends to happen is you're going to have 100 or 200 really loyal folks who are going to come back and hire you for copywriting. They're going to hire you for sales letters. They're going to hire you for critiques. They're going to hire you to write lead generation campaigns. And when you understand this methodology, you can help them as well to write less content of higher value, but reach specific audiences that are more likely to purchase. Now, this is a shift between a freelance copywriter who just wants to get more work and a freelance copywriter who is becoming a partner with target organizations, target industries, and building up an equity in that audience by delivering results. And then, of course, being paid on results rather than being paid on the page or paid on the word. If you have questions about what I've covered here today, or you want additional techniques and strategies to cultivate your in-house list, we've been able to activate in-house lists and make those names worth $1, $2 a month per name, or even hundreds of dollars per name over the course of a year, and really be able to manage the health of your agency or the health of your future and passive income through the number of qualified individuals in-house on your list. You could be in a position where if you've had a number of past clients that we can go back and reactivate those past clients and to really grow a solid book of business. I'm Justin Hitt with Ad Briefing's Copywriting Tips, and this has been about one of the most powerful resources that every copywriter, marketer, business owner, executive has when it comes to growing their business, and that is a quality lead generation campaign. People on your house list who know who you are, who enjoy receiving information from you, who have that interaction and dialogue so that you can better understand their needs. And then, of course, a system for cultivating that information to start building an additional front end. Before you know it, you'll have 1,000 opt-ins and 100 clients, and you will be able to then scale that. And if you'd like us to talk about scaling in another podcast, we can do that. If you'd like us to talk about the privacy laws and obligations that you have when you build lists, we can talk about that. The way you let me know what you want me to talk about is by visiting www.adbriefings.co.uk. Go to the contact page and ask your questions. There's also a free newsletter there. But I'm Justin Hitt. I've got more topics to cover than I possibly could in time. So again, let's choose your own adventure by answering your questions. And this has been about the value and importance of building your own lead list, doing lead generation in-house. I'll see you in the next podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe. Be sure to visit the website at www.adbriefings.co.uk and get out there. Let's use these words that sell to create audiences, to create valuable solutions, and to sell more.